All right.
Hey, Paul showed up. Hey, Paul.
Welcome, Paul.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Okay, so again, thanks a lot for being here tonight. I am Scott Cohen. I work for the Portland Bureau of Transportation. I manage our neighborhood Greenway program. And we are hoping to get as many neighborhood Greenway counts as we can over the next 8 weeks as a way to see how and how many people are using the neighborhood Greenways during COVID. I'm sure most of you know, but if you don't, the commissioner has declared all neighborhood Greenways to be local traffic only. And in order to support that, we've installed, along with our partners with Axiom Event Productions, 119 temporary traffic control devices at those 119 intersections to help remind people to use different streets, and that if they do need to use the neighborhood Greenway, to go slow and to expect people in the streets because people are practicing physical distancing. So this has been on the street since May. We've had some other events happen in the world that's taken a lot of our attention, both our as PBOT and ours as citizens. So it's taken us a little while to get our count and volunteer program going, but we really hope that we still have a lot of time left, or enough time left, to get an idea of how, and again, how many people are using the neighborhood Greenways during COVID. So in a nutshell, what we're doing is replicating the PBOT manual bike counts that we've done every summer for at least a decade. We're not doing those this summer because traffic is, obviously including bike traffic, is quite different. We used to count for our PBOT manual bike counts at the peak time, which was 4 to 6 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, as a way to kind of see how people are getting around by bike. Peak traffic is down, no matter the mode right now. People are obviously working at home. Look at us, we're all doing this silly Zoom meeting and you guys are recording me. So what we want to try to do instead is we want to find that peak time. I still think in a lot of cases it's going to be in that hour between 4 to 6. But we've also think that there could be a lot of times, like on Saturday mornings or afternoons, where some of the Greenways could have more people out using them. We're going to use essentially the same count form that we've used for the bike counts in the past. It's a pretty easy tally sheet form. It also includes information about people that are wearing helmets and perceived gender. I've added a small column for trying to track pedestrians, which includes pedestrians walking in the street or on the sidewalk. The most important part will be counting people. People on bikes, people walking, people on scooters, mobility devices. That will be the key. Secondarily would be, helmet and gender use, and, or I should say secondarily would be that the intersection, the turning movements, as you'll see on the count form. And then, lastly would be the gender and helmet use. So that's really kind of the nutshell of what we're looking at. I've outlined about 15 locations based on the zones that we've developed for our Slow Streets program. We have 9 different zones throughout the city that's set up for where our slow street locations are. And I've tried to pick about 1 count location per zone. And some of those zones are quite big or have a lot of greenways. And so there's more than 1 location. What we'd ideally do is have 1 person per count location. And that person would count at that location at the same time and day 3 times in the next 3 months at a minimum. So you'd have one in August, one in September, and one in October before we wrap up Slow Streets. More would be great. Twice would be the bare minimum. We do need some sort of like we need something to show some sort of change over time, whatever that change may be. But the more counts we get, the better. So if you could do every 2 weeks, that would be great. We'd have 6 counts over the next 3 months, and we would just have more data to see how people are using the streets. So that's really kind of the big picture and a little bit of the details. I have more information on where I've outlined the count locations, and that's based on where we have both where we have our manual count data from the past, and then also where we have recent COVID counts that we've done with our hose counter, so we can have more than one data point. I will say this will be really useful for us to see how people are using neighborhood greenways. You know, we do want to really, I think Bike Loud and, you know, PBOT have a similar interest. We really want to make neighborhood greenways great places for people. And I think this data can help us show how people are responding to neighborhood greenways when there is less traffic and there are more interventions. And so I think that we can help use this data to help make the case why neighborhood greenways need to be, you know, essentially, you know, better protected from traffic, you know, both during pandemics and in the future when we go back to, you know, our new normal.
Great, thanks so much, Scott, for giving us the full lowdown there. I just want to pull up the actual volunteer count form just to kind of show folks what that looks like.
That'd be great. Thanks, RJ.
Let's see if I can find it again. Okay, I'm having a bit of trouble sharing my screen right now. As far as also just a quick question for you, Scott.
Sure.
When you mentioned counting everybody, does that mean adults as well as kids?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we want to count everybody. So kids count.
There you go.
Yeah. I have the count form up. Let me see if I can share my screen. Give me 1 sec here. Are there any, while we're having our technical difficulties, are there any questions or has there anybody that has not done one of the PBOT manual bike counts in the past? It's fine, obviously, if you haven't, but you've never done one, RJ?
I'm not actually.
Oh, put that, somebody record that as a demerit for RJ. I felt like that was I thought that was the minimum qualification to lead Bike Loud, is you had to at least do one volunteer bike count.
Are they similar to Metro's trail counts? Because I know Metro.
You know, I haven't seen Metro's trail count form, but I'm sure they're very similar in their intent. I'm going to see if I can share my screen to show you guys the form.
So the Metro trail counts in Portland, so I guess it counts as overlap.
Yeah, Ray, you count. RJ, you've lost your co-chairmanship, and Ray is now chair of Bike Loud until you do a count.
Oh, you live in Portland. I live in Oregon City.
That's okay. We'll expand our reach. So can you guys can see this, my screen now, right? Okay, great. So this is essentially the form that we use for our manual bike counts each year. I see it's a little bit different side per side. I can try to fix that. We've had skateboard tallies in the past. We've got pedestrian tally on the bottom right. You've got an intersection here. So let's say you're standing at, 60th and Lincoln, kind of at that entrance or close to the entrance to Mount Tabor, which is a place where I've heard there's been a lot of, pedestrian and bike activity. You'd have northbound would be your 60th here, and then east and west here would be Lincoln, and you would just kind of start to, you'd make a little arrow for straight across here, and I wonder if I could actually do it while we're on. Oh, that's probably too much. Look, yeah, see, I'm already screwing it up. I'm signing the document. I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing. So yeah, you would essentially, you'd be counting the people that are going across the intersection here at 60th on Lincoln, east and west. And then if, you had anybody that was going north or south on 60th, and you probably would, you'd count them. You'd probably see some people making turning movements going from 60th on to Lincoln westbound. If you had the ability, you'd be able to mark here also, you saw somebody that, seemed masculine or, looked male to you, and you'd mark them with a helmet or without a helmet. Feminine. You mark, where you are, your date, your time, if it's nice, your name, any notes, like there was a bunch of traffic cones set up for a construction project that may have, maybe something that would change the conditions here. And then down here, you just have your pedestrian tally. That would count anybody you'd see on just walking, skateboard, or scooter. I think we could do down here on this left side. I would say somebody had asked in the chat about trailers or things like that. I would just count a trailer on a bike as one, or a cargo bike, as one. It's one bike. But if you count it as three, it'll be okay. I mean, we're really talking about kind of just I'm thinking more about the vehicle here as much, because it's the person who's doing the traveling. Scott, oh, not so much about counting as how wide it is. I don't understand.
Can you describe also why it's important to mark the feminine, masculine trait as well?
Yeah, thanks, RJ. That's a good question. What we've seen essentially is, and this is not just in Portland or in the U.S., but this is pretty universal throughout the world, is the more women or female identifying people we see on bikes, it usually suggests that you have a bike network that is more comfortable for people of all ages and abilities. People have used the term, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to use it anyway, as an indicator species. But essentially, when you see more, when you see more than just men, middle-aged kind of men, or able-bodied men on bikes, when you see more than that, you're starting to see that you've got a network that's comfortable for a wider population. And so that's what we're trying to capture here. In the past, I think we've seen in Portland about a 60-40 split, which, considering our population, I think we're a slight majority of women. I think we're like 52%. We're obviously underrepresenting, but we're actually far better than other places. So that's just something to know. It would be great to know, compared to our other counts, how are we doing? Are we seeing more women now during slow streets? That would be a really important thing for us to know compared to our other volunteer bike counts in the past. That would be a huge data point for us to be able to say, look what happens when we see a 50% reduction in traffic and we put interventions up to tell people that this is a place for people to be and not cars. We've now seen more women using bikes on the street. That would be a really important data point for us to capture.
And do you mind also kind of sharing what sort of things end up happening with the counts? I mean, so we're going out. We're going to be hopefully multiple counts. You'd mentioned a little bit about the Greenways, but does this help at all when we try and make the case for instance, a diverter, for additional safer crossings? What are sort of the counts used for in context as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all part of, sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments as we talk. That's okay, Marcia. You don't have to ever note helmet use. That's fine. so what we yes, I think this can help with our, I think our overall message about needing to do more for neighborhood greenways in order to get more people to feel safe on the neighborhood greenways. I think this is part of that conversation, and this data will help us make those points. I mean, what we've seen is that we've done a lot of interventions. They're not hard interventions, right? If you're in a car, you can still drive through the slow street, installation. But we've put up a lot of signage, and we've seen a big reduction in traffic just because of how traffic patterns have changed. And if we can take it's kind of an if and then, if we have less traffic and more awareness that this is a street for people, then we have more people using the street. I think we can say that when traffic grows back to, pre-COVID levels, or if traffic does, we need to be able to have those kind of interventions again that allow us to keep the streets open for people or comfortable for people. And so I do think this has a direct relationship to how we'll make the case for doing more traffic calming, more diverters for neighborhood greenways.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming out and giving us the full lowdown. Is there any other, does anyone have any other questions for Scott while he's here?
I have one in case. Do you know if there's any cities in Portland that are doing bike ped counts for COVID? Like, they've maybe opened streets up or had sidewalk cafes or something? Because I'm trying to find any suburban cities that are doing something like Portland's doing.
Sorry, Ray, you cut out a little bit. You're asking, are there other places that are doing stuff like Portland? Are you?
Yeah, with the bike ped counts for COVID, because like I asked Oregon City, like for bike ped counts, and all they give them is car counts. I'm like, I want to know bike ped counts, and they look like I'm a weird person. I'm like, I want to know other things than just cars.
I don't know of other places that are doing it, but PBOT's going to come out, I think, pretty soon with a kind of comprehensive report of some of the traffic data analysis that we've done during COVID, which will include, bike counts. Not, I don't think we're gonna have pedestrian counts on there, but and so that might help that might help bring some other people out of the woodwork that's saying like, hey, oh, we did that too. So stay tuned and see if you hear about other places, but I haven't heard so far.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, RJ, can I just look a little bit in the chat, because there's a little bit going on in there.
Let's kind of address some of those questions a little bit later.
Okay.
Maybe if Laura could maybe talk about how people are going to be able to get involved and then sign up and volunteer. Laura, would you mind kind of taking the mic?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we have a basic Google form set up to get people registered. So everyone that is interested, we can start to collect your information, figure out what zone you live in, because that's how we've divided up the Portland metro area. And then we'll, depending on which intersection and greenway we need to count on, we'll notify the people within those zones. I'm gonna go ahead and put the link up right now.
I actually just threw it in the chat there too.
Oh, great, you did. Perfect. Yeah, so it's my understanding that this is internal right now, that we will expand later, but currently this is an internal recruitment within BikeLoud. Is that correct, RJ? Okay, great. So please share this within your group with other people that weren't able to attend tonight. Get the word out. This is going to be a pretty quick turnover. We want to get people out there and counting as quickly as possible. So please put your information in that form, and we will follow up with you as far as which intersections and assignments and time of day and which day and all of that information.
And then one thing that I do want to mention too is that we're going to be providing some nice prizes to local bike shops. We're still trying to figure out some of the logistics on that, but stay tuned for, we'll be offering multiple prizes for folks, and it won't just be, it'll be kind of like a raffle. So the more times that you count, the more chances you have to win some of the prizes as well. So really, really excited for that. Is there anything, Laura, that folks should know about kind of volunteering? You know, should they go out with a mask? Should they bring some water? Anything like that?
Yeah, those are all excellent questions, and I have a 4-year-old screaming in the background. Sorry about that. We definitely ask that people wear masks when they're out and about. We also ask that if you have any type of cold-like symptoms, that you take the day off. We want to make sure that everybody's health and safety are forefront. Information about that is in the registration link there that you can read about, as far as our guidelines regarding COVID and safety and health. And as far as equipment, it does ask that you are able to print out the form and then be able to either scan or take a picture of it and just send it back. So really, as far as equipment, that's what's needed. If you don't have a printer, I'm sure we could find a way around making you your form, but definitely water. I think that's a great suggestion, RJ, and just be comfortable and ready to sit there and hang out for an hour or two, whether that's a lawn chair and an umbrella or whatever's gonna make you comfortable.
Nice big brimmed hat. Is there anything that you recommend when, or if someone approaches you and asks you what you're doing on their street with a clipboard and, you know, marking things down? What do you tell people?
Sure. So we just ask that people be friendly ambassadors for the program. We've got a little bit of verbiage that we give you to just talk about what the Open Streets, Safe Streets program is, and let them know that you're out there to assess the needs of the community. We've had a lot of people interacting with us while we've been out there setting up the installations. And it's been really nice actually getting the positive feedback of the community. They see us out there in the streets actually invested in what's happening in their communities. And you'll get some talkers on some intersections, I'm sure. But yeah, just be there to be a friendly ambassador, and you'll have a good time.
I would add that since it's the election year, you may get people wondering if you're doing polling or any canvassing. When I did some surveying for bike ped counts in 2012, this is in North Carolina, but I did some Greenway counts there, and people would run away from me because they thought I was doing polling or canvassing for election stuff. And since election's only a few months away, people may be more afraid to talk to people around now because people have clipboards usually polling. So I'm just gonna make you aware of that.
Clipboards are not a required item, so if you feel like you could be more incognito with like a journal or something, feel free.
There you go. Be a little bit more sleuthy about it. Great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much for joining us, Josh. And thank you again to Laura and to the PDX Greenways folks for organizing not only Let's Slow Street stuff, but also for taking charge of kind of scheduling and all the coordination with the volunteers as well. So thanks everybody for showing up and for helping and for coming together as a community. I think that's really amazing about this moment, is just how all of us are kind of showing up for community right now. So thanks so much. I'm going to stop the recording right about now.